Hey, good morning, guys. It's me, William, your crazy counselor, and I'm on my way to work. It's Thursday, which is kind of my Friday. Um, even though I work tomorrow, it's light work, as Patrick would say in the gym. Whenever Patrick puts on this insanely heavy weight, he'll start saying to himself, "Lightweight, lightweight." But the mug is a beast. So he just for somebody being that small, and I don't mean it in like a tiny way. Just compared to me, he's a small dude. He is incredibly strong. But that is not my topic for today. Um, I wanted to talk about endurance and perseverance, especially today when we got stuff going on. The world is flipped upside down. We, the coronavirus has just kicked it up a notch. From reports of now children are being affected. And I haven't done any of the research on it, but there is a greater concern. And and like I said, I'm not here to verify or disqualify news reports. I'm reacting to what the world is doing and what the world is saying, and what society is being influenced by. And media is an influencer. I'm an influencer. I'm a small influencer, but I'm an influencer. Media, the huge media beast, is reporting that the coronavirus, and I think has now started to affect young people and children, and just telling people to be aware of when you take your kids out, to be extra careful, because apparently it's affecting their heart. So here we are getting these new reports, and anxiety and depression and despair and anger and resentment just increase exponentially. And so here we are in the midst of everything, the whirlwind of storms. And it's like, I know a lot of people are just like, we can't get a break. We can't even get out of the quarantine. And once we get out of the quarantine, everybody's worried about going back into the quarantine and what's going to happen when people come. There's just so much. And the temptation to fall into extreme emotional behavior, like I've got people relapsing. They're like, what the hell, I might as well just use crack, cocaine, heroin, smoke it all up, and weed, whatever. Drink it, just going down hard, because it was difficult for people to find a point to their existence before all of this happened. And now you're hit with, we don't got a job, we're laid off. The economy has the greatest population of unemployed ever. We're writing stimulus checks like it's monopoly money. And we all realize that there is going, not only are we going through now, but there is going to be a backlash from everything that we're experiencing. And so here we are. What do we do? What do we do? And I was listening to John Gray. Him and Steve Furtick have become my favorite speakers lately. Maybe because I know it has to do with my faith. Um, but I really need their positive messages. And so he had said, John Gray, young dude, young pastor, you should check him out. He's very, how do I put it, modern. you know, um, and so he'll have a lot of the slang terms and the sayings that you hear today. And one of them was, he was talking about relationships and being the ride or die, but my personal favorite was we're gonna run this thing till the wheels fall off, till the wheels fall off. And the problem I see in our society is that we don't even get close to the moment when the wheels fall off. And anxiety says, why would I do that? Why would I take it to the edge and go over? And part of that is a complete faith move. Part of it is a complete faith move. But the other part is, how do I increase my limits, my strength, my skill set, if I don't empty out the old, completely go dry, so I can fill in with something new? And I think of my own story, when the wheels fell off. And I'd recently been separated from my first wife, and we were still communicating, we were still friendly, and I'd gone to Ohio to visit my mom and dad, just to kind of get some rest and encouragement. Sometimes you just need a hug from your mama. And so I flew out and I rented a car, and I let Barb and the kids use my vehicle because I knew they needed more than one vehicle to get around. And and when I was there, and I think it was winter time, and I got this call that my oldest stepson had gotten into a car accident. And I said, okay, is he all right? He was fine. He was okay. So the next question, of course, was, is my car all right? And I remember her being a little bit more hesitant with that explanation. And she said, well, it still runs. And I said, okay, all right, well, it still runs. I mean, I guess I'll just have to assess the damage and get it fixed. So I flew back, and she came to pick me up, and what was it? It was a Chrysler Crossfire, and it was originally her car, but she traded me for my car because it was a bigger vehicle, and she had to transport people, so we switched, and I took the sports car because it was just me. And so I was digging that, so I'm riding around in the sports car, and I was kind of felt like I was in Miami Vice. So when she came to pick me up, I could hear the damage of the car as she's coming up in my little red sports car, and you could hear it just grinding. Just it sounded like a wounded Tyrannosaurus Rex. And my heart just was just like, and I got in, and I was surprised, we even made it back. And at that time, I was living out of my office. So she took me back to the office, and that was pretty much it. The car was dead. I had to turn it in, and the mechanic said, "There's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do." And then I found out that I didn't have gap insurance. I didn't even know what gap insurance was. So that was kind of a wrap. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a vehicle. I had nothing, and I had a bill. So I remember sitting in my office because I was living in my office. I didn't have enough money to get my own place. And I was just, I mean, my prayers were so pitiful. It was like, okay, God, what now? It was no thee, thou, and Father, how art thou? It was just like, yo, remember me. and and I don't know if I called my boy Tony or if he called me to check on me. I don't remember which one it was. I wasn't even going to church at that time, so I was really in a dark place. And Tony called me and he said, "Hey, Will, you can borrow our SUV to get around if you need to." And I think that was one of the many times I cried. And he brought the vehicle over, and I was just so incredibly grateful. And then I found out how much gas it took to drive the vehicle. you know, and you know how you get a blessing, and then it turns into be a little bit of a burden because Tony's vehicle, I don't even remember what it was, but it took a quarter of a tank of gas just to start the vehicle. And I remember him telling me it takes a lot of gas, Will. And I was like, all right, no problem, bet. Uh, so I was driving that around for a little bit, and I was looking in the newspaper, no, and I started going to church. I started going to church, and I remember I heard this one sermon about just going out on faith, and faith isn't for the reasonable or the convenient; it's for the impossible. And so I went home, went back to my office, and I said, okay, all right, let's just test this thing out, And so I looked through the guide, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go for what I really want. And at that time, it was a Nissan Altima 2-door because it was just sporty, it was sharp, and I wanted a silver or a gray one, and there was one right there in the guide, right there. And I said, okay, I'm gonna drive down there and see what I can see. So I called him, told I was coming out to look at it, drove down in the Beast, and the guy, I walked in and the guy said, "You're going to leave with this car." And I said, "Yeah, all right." I said, "You have not looked at my credit yet." And he says, "It don't matter. You're going to leave with this vehicle." And I said, "I don't have any money to put down." And he said again, "You're going to leave with this vehicle." And so I sat there and I was like, I have nothing else to do. I was still working in my own business, my own private practice. I didn't have a job to clock in. In fact, I was sleeping there, and sometimes clients would see my car there and they'd wonder if I was working early in the morning, and I was really just getting up making breakfast. So I didn't have that many clients at the time. So we sat there in the car dealership in Dover, Delaware, and we went back and forth, and he would come back and he'd say, well, how's this payment work? And I said, hey, I can afford that payment. They said, well, do you think you could put down? He said, what do you think it sounds like if I ask you to put down 2,000? I said, it sounds like I'm leaving without a car. So he said, hold on, Mr. Singleton. I'll be right back. So then he came back and said, you don't have to put nothing down and you can leave with the car now. And I looked at him. I mean, my mouth dropped and I'm like, this cat is crazy. I'm like, I'm ready to start drug testing him. I'm like, are you serious? And mind you, don't ever do this. Don't ever do this. I started trying to talk him out of it. I'm like, dude, have you looked at my credit? I said, I work for myself. I'm coming up with all these excuses of why he shouldn't give me the car. And he said, it doesn't matter. I said, you were leaving with this car. You're leaving with this car. And so I didn't even have anybody else to drive Tony's car back. But I got that car because I was afraid he was going to change his mind. I said, okay, all right, you know what? I think my smarter self kicked in and said, Will, shut up. And just take the car and go. So I got in the car, drove it, and it was just, I mean, it was a dream. And I drove home crying again, but they were like happy. I was just smiling. I was like, I can't. And I was just thanking God, and I was just like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. So the next day, I went back and picked up Tony's car, and then I think it was the end of the week that the Nissan dealership called me and said, we have a problem, and we need you to bring the car back in. And I was just like, I knew it. I knew it. So I drove back in, and I said, okay, no problem. What's the problem? And I was fully expecting them to take the car back. And he said, we made a mistake with the payments. We charged you too much. And they turned around and reduced my car payment. And I left with the car. And I drove that car, and I never had a problem with the car. And I turned that car in, Actually, I got in one car accident during, I think it was like about 2 years, 2 or 3 years ago. We had a crazy sudden snowstorm, and the Ultima is not built for snow or ice, and it spun out, and I hit the side rail and knocked my alignment out, and I limped into the car dealership for them to fix it. And so that's when I ended up with, because I said, I really kind of need something for the winter, and I need something because I was married to my new wife, and we had a lot of grandkids, and so she had mentioned that I should get something with 3 rows. And I said, you guys got anything with 3 rows? Just thinking out loud, not really serious. And once again, he said, I'm going to leave with this vehicle. And I ended up with a 2019 Pathfinder. And I told him, I said, I have never bought a car the same year that it was made. And it was just an example to me of what will happen in our life when the wheels fall off. Because when you look at that, when you've given it all that you can give and you've put it all out there, something incredible is going to happen. But we're too scared to do that. We're too afraid to give something all that we have. Because and I get it, because we've been hurt before, we've been broken before, we've been bruised before, we've we've been traumatized before, and I get it. But here's the deal: that if you stay within your little safety net, your little zone of convenience and comfort, that's all you're gonna ever know. That's all you're gonna ever experience, and that's all you're gonna ever have. So I'm just saying that until you get to the moment until the wheels fall off. My one friend used to say, "I'm gonna beat the brakes off of it," and you got to beat the brakes off of your issue, off of your problem, off of your circumstance, off of the challenge that you're facing, and take it until the wheels fall off in order for a miracle to happen. And I admire anybody that can do that. All my people that I work with, that's why you guys are my heroes, because you're on an incredible journey of taking it beyond your imagination until the wheels fall off. So I love you guys. I'm sorry this is a little bit long, but I'm always praying for you guys. So peace out, and I'll talk to you later.